Hello and welcome. The purpose of this recording is to provide a brief overview of the Performance Profile Assessment Report. This recording is based on the Performance Profile Assessment Training Workbook. It will help you to follow this recording if you have the Wayne Farms Performance Profile Assessment Sample Report in front of you, but it's not necessary. I'm showing you pages from that report during the training. In this training, we will review where the Performance Profile Assessment Report comes from, that is, what it is based on, the purpose of the Performance Profile Assessment, the 4 parts of the results report, and how to use the information in the report. The Profile Assessment is based on 3 validated personality questionnaires. They are the General Information Appraisal, or GIA, which measures a person's general knowledge and thinking skills. The Preference Inventory, HPI, which measures 14 basic personality characteristics that influence behavior preferences on the job, and the Work Attitude Questionnaire, or WAQ, which measures self-reported attitudes and past behavior in work-related risk areas. We made several enhancements to the Performance Profile Assessment Report to make it easier to use the information in the report during the selection process. The basic purposes of the Performance Profile Assessment remain the same: to help you get a deeper understanding of what this person brings to the job, his or her related strengths, cautions, and concerns, his or her potential to learn and grow on the job, suggestions for ways to coach this person on the job. How do we do this? The Profile Assessment Results Report integrates the information from the questionnaires on which it is based and presents the information in work-relevant ways. Instead of simply listing the personality characteristics on which the report is based and showing you this person's preferences, we have looked at relevant behavior and grouped it into 5 behavior clusters to show how underlying personality characteristics can affect job-relevant behavior in key areas. The 5 behavior clusters are work style, management style, dealing with people, problem solving, and mental toughness. Very brief definitions for each of those behavior clusters. Work style is overall behavior style on the job. Management style is leading and directing the activities of others. Dealing with people is interacting with others. Problem solving is learning and using information to solve problems and challenges. Toughness is managing personal reactions, especially in crises. The Profile Assessment Report is customized for Wayne Farms. We issue benchmark ranges for each underlying personality characteristic that are based on over 4,500 Wayne Farms performance profiles completed since 1998. I'll explain more about the benchmark ranges when we look at a sample performance profile assessment report. The Wayne Farms Performance Profile Assessment Results Report will be sent to you as a digital document in PDF or portable document format, so you can read it on screen or print it. The digital document includes internal screen links to help you move around easily within the report without endlessly scrolling back and forth. We'll see some examples in a couple of minutes. The 4 parts of the Performance Profile Assessment Results Report. First, interview suggestions. These are suggestions to use in follow-up interviews that specifically address out-of-benchmark range results for the person, that is, either very high or very low ratings on underlying characteristics. Second, the bottom line. The line is an evaluation of the person's job match, promotion potential, and overall suitability that is based on Dr. Helm's personal review of the completed questionnaires and on his knowledge and experience with Wayne Farms. This also includes a summary of the behavior cluster results. Third, behavior cluster details. about the person's work-related behavior preferences that are based on the optimal results for Wayne Farms. This section includes descriptions of behavior most likely to be seen on the job, all other factors being equal, that are affected by the underlying personality characteristics for that cluster. And fourth, coaching suggestions. Coach suggestions address every characteristic that is measured by the GIA and HPI, and they're arranged by and customized for each behavior cluster. These are practical, easy to use, and they are determined by the person's measured preferences, them as guidelines and as necessary. Let's look now at some pages from a simple performance profile assessment results report so that I can point out specific features. The purpose of the performance profile report is to help you protect confidentiality of the contents if you happen to print it or if you have the program open running on your computer screen. The next section, or the first part of the report, are the interview suggestions. These interview suggestions that are provided for use in follow-up interviews if the person has either very high or very low ratings on underlying characteristics. Each interview suggestion shows you the behavior cluster that is affected and how the characteristic is labeled in that cluster. The next page, after the interview suggestions end, is what is the performance profile? This page answers that question and also gives you guidelines in how to use the information. This page is the same in every report. Next, the bottom line. The bottom line page is an executive summary that is an overall look at the person's performance profile assessment results. Dr. Helms' overall recommendation, job match, and promotion potential ratings are shown in one of three areas: good, marginal, or concern. We now have avatars to where this person's results fall. We found that numbers and letters were distracting. The all behavior cluster results are given toward the bottom of the page, along with an explanation of what strength, caution, or concern mean for behavior clusters. You can get more detailed information about what each cluster measures by clicking on the live link to Behavior Cluster page, where each cluster is defined in more detail. And then you can use the link at the top of that page to return to the bottom line page. Let's next at a behavior cluster detail page. And the first one that comes up is the first behavior cluster work style. At the top of every page is the person's name and the date. And just under that header, there are active links to other parts of the document that you may want to look at briefly and then return to this page. The overall cluster rating is repeated from the bottom line page. And then underlying characteristics that attribute most significantly to that behavior cluster are listed, along with the person's rating that is based on his or her responses to the HI, again shown by avatars. The green, yellow, and gray shading on the characteristics show you the Wayne Farms benchmark range for each characteristic. Green indicates optimal but not required ratings. Yellow indicates caution, and gray shows out of benchmark range ratings. You can refresh your memory of what the benchmark ranges mean by clicking on the active link at the top of the page that takes you to the benchmark guidelines or benchmark range guidelines page and explains what each of the benchmark ranges indicates, plus reminding you that scores outside of the benchmark range are not necessarily a disqualification from consideration. We can return then with the link back to the page where we were, the work style cluster page. Finally, on this page, for each of the underlying characteristics, we provide a description at the bottom of the page about what these work-related behavior preferences mean for people with this particular rating. The green oval, yellow, or gray arrows remind you of where on the benchmark range for that characteristic this person's results were. There's a page like this for each of the behavior clusters. So we have work style, management style, dealing with people, problem solving, and mental toughness. Some underlying personality characteristics affect more than one behavior cluster. In that case, the label on the underlying behavior or the underlying characteristic will reflect the effect that that characteristic tends to have within each behavior cluster. You can see a chart that shows you for each of those 15 underlying personality characteristics which behavior cluster they occur in and how they are labeled on page 23 of the Performance Profile Assessment Training Workbook. That page looks like this. Let's turn now to the Performance Profile Assessment Report. The next section are the coaching suggestions. The coaching suggestions occur near the end of the Performance Profile Assessment Report and are repeated in a separately provided coaching guidebook for the person. The coaching suggestions in the Performance Profile Assessment Report and the coaching guidelines booklet for each person are the same. Again, they are arranged by behavior cluster and they are customized within that cluster. That means that the coaching suggestion that is made, for instance, for intelligence in the style cluster is different from the one that is made in the management style cluster. The coaching suggestions are customized for the cluster in which they occur. The coaching suggestions as guidelines to help you find ways to help the employee be as effective as possible on the job. At the end of the coaching suggestions, we have the background information page. On this page, we reproduce all of the background information that this person gave us at our website when they completed the performance profile questionnaires. We don't verify this information, we simply provide it to you. Let's turn now to talk about, as soon as we get to the end of the report, how to use the information from the performance profile report. It's not reasonable to expect that you will hire only Superman or Wonder Woman who have only strengths on their performance profile assessment results reports. We're all human and we all have strengths and liabilities. You're likely to see candidates who prove to be productive and invaluable employees who have a mixture of strengths, cautions, and concerns. During interviews, you usually see more of a person's strengths than anything else, but the whole person who walks in the door on the first day of the job. The more you know about how to help a person work around areas of concern or caution, the more likely that the person will be successful on the job. Use information from the performance profile assessment in combination with all that you learn about a person from interviews, background checks, work samples, references, and more in making hiring and promotion decisions. Additional training videos for the Performance Profile Assessment Program will be available on the following dates. We will have videos for Professional Development Guide, the Work Attitude Questionnaire, and the Training Workbook and User Certification Program. You can find more detailed information about the Performance Profile Assessment in our reference manual, and on this final screen of the presentation, there is a link that is a live link to that reference manual at our website. Remember, though, that you can always call Dr. Helm. Contact information is on the screen, as well as a link to his email address that is active. Thank you so much for your time today.